Quite a bit about as siblings and stuff. I asked them what words describe mom? What words describe her best? Not a long sentence, just a couple of words. And then I asked everybody also to send me what scriptures remind you of her and why. And out of that, two words that came together were fearless faith. Fearless faith. But that wouldn't be enough, because anytime that you have a memorial or you have a funeral, you have a passing of someone, it would be a tragedy if we don't all stop and take a moment to check ourselves. Our own hearts, and say, what can I learn? What could I do different? What would God be saying to me right now? And so for her, she would want you to know that her fearless faith was founded only on a real relationship with Jesus. It's what everything came out of. And the scripture that says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That whole idea is it is something that is not, the hope here isn't hope like in, I hope I win a lottery. No, that kind of biblical hope it's talking about is an expectation of a certain future event. So that's the faith that she had. Absolutely certain. And it was built on this real relationship with Jesus. I remember so often the example that she used when I was in grade school, and just a couple of weeks ago when I was sharing with our small group in Mount Vernon, Washington about my mom's death, a lady there that I didn't even know knew her said 40 years ago plus, I was in a class that she taught, and she took an empty chair, took it to the front, and sat down. So you have a problem talking to Jesus? He's here. Just put him in this chair and speak to him. It was that real for her. Faith is a substance that is that way, that fearless faith that lets us step out into immediate obedience to him and do whatever he's called us to do. Whether that's to go to Africa, whether it is to start acres of diamonds, but to be obedient to do it. That faith lets you fear less. And it lets you go with what appears, from a human's perspective, to be complete confidence. I think I'd like to call it Godfidence. Godfidence. Because that's the root of it. That's where it's based from. That allows the freedom to do that with total expectation that God's going to be in this some way, shape, or form, and you're going to see it. You're going to see it. And so today, I think that the thing that I hope you go away with, and I hope that is a refrain that reminds itself in your mind, that just beats a drum into your brain, is this refrain. Fearless faith can only be found in a real relationship with Jesus. Did you get that? Fearless faith. And if you want to live with fearless faith, it can only be found in a real relationship with Jesus. And as we have a moment to give tribute to her and tell some what I think will be some very interesting stories for some of you, a few things like that, she would want you to know it all comes back to the fact that her faith, her fearless faith, can only be found in a real relationship with Jesus. I think that's so important, and I know that if we don't repeat it, Rich will never remember it, so let's repeat it. When we repeat it together right now, fearless faith can only be found in a real relationship with Jesus. Let's do it again. Fearless faith can only be found in a real relationship with Jesus. Probably should have done it 5 times for some of you, but we'll let that go right now. A close second to fearless faith was unconditional love. And boy, isn't that the truth? I mean, man, her love was unconditional. Some of you all that she loved, it was unbelievable that she could love you. That's unconditional love, I'm just saying. It's very unconditional. And the people who would come into our home, that she would just welcome in. And some of them were welcomed in even before they were born. So I recall that a young lady immigrated from Holland to the United States and became part of our family. Her name was Frauke, and like a little sister to my mom and dad. And then her kids they became godparents to their kids. And and they've been in the family. Man, I tell you, some of them, Mommy has some real unconditional love to keep loving. But she did anyway. And so the first person we want to hear from just today about how fearless faith can only be found in a real relationship with Jesus is Garrett Boyle, my god brother, who Mom loved before he was born. So Garrett, come on.
This is much harder than it looks. And the only way I could keep it to 3 minutes for Cliff's order was to just write it down so I could keep my time allotment. So, when people ask me about my relationship with Pearl Tadema, I tell them that she treated me like a son, and I treated her like a grandmother. That is why I called her Beppa. Beppa was a special word to me because I never had a grandmother, and she was more than grandmother. She was also mom. She was mom to Andy. She was mom to my kids. She was Beppa to my kids. And the legacy of Beppa is impossible to put into a 3-minute speech. Yesterday I saw firsthand that she had formalized our relationship a long time ago by naming me in her will as one of 9 heirs to her kingdom, which is a huge honor to me and very humbling considering the thousands of people she has known throughout her life. So today I will call her Mom, which makes you Dad. Cliff asks us siblings to honor Mom by giving an example of Mom's fearless faith in Jesus and the relationship she developed with people because of her love for Jesus. I can give examples from my childhood when she opened her home to complete strangers, and or the time we built a fence together in Carnation when neither of us knew how to build a fence, or when she gave us, Andy and I, marriage counseling when we were dating. But the biggest example to me of Mom living out her fearless faith was when she started Acres of Diamonds in 1995 for homeless women and children with 0 money and no house. And looking back on that now, it's just amazing how Mom prayed that into existence. Andy and I served together as founding board members of Acres of Diamonds for a few years, and then Mom asked me to become president of the board when I was about 29 years old, which was crazy because I had never led anything in my life, but she had faith that I could actually do that. Because of her fearless faith in Jesus, thousands of lives have changed for the good because of when she started at Acres. Mom started Acres because she lived her life on fire for Jesus and always believed that God would honor her fearless faith, and he did every day of her life. If Mom was here today, she would ask each of us if we have fearless faith in God and how we are living out that faith on a daily basis. If anyone here does not have a relationship with Jesus, Mom would ask, why not? Get one. And for those of us who do have a relationship with Jesus, no matter if you call her Mom, or Beppa, or Great Beppa, or Pearl, follow her example by living your life with fearless faith. Amen.
I will acknowledge that in my life I have shamelessly lobbied my nieces, nephews, and children to include my name with their children. And my dad, I learned that from him because he actually said he would pay people to name their kid Rick. And Mom never asked for that. She never asked for it. She never expected it. She never said anything about it. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to see how many people here have the name Pearl attached to their name somehow. Stand up. Anybody with the name Pearl? Yeah. Is that crazy or what? Yeah. Pretty cool. So, one of the things that Nance wrote on the back of your program there, she wrote the eulogy for Mom, and she said, unhurried and unworried. Yeah. Well, this next speaker he could get the first part of that down. The second part, he's still working on, but he's young. So Dan's gonna come and talk to us now about where you at, Dale? There you are. Yeah.
Fearless faith for me, I'm the first adopted in this family. And I was adopted before adoption was cool. I think there's a lot of adopted children out there now. It's, I think, almost 60 years, Dad, that Ritz and Pearl adopted me. And then later they adopted Harold John. But Mom and Dad must have had real fearless faith, because they chose me out of a little lineup of pictures in a magazine with my number stamped across it. And I don't know why you chose me, but anyway. And then they bring me into Manhattan, Montana, where there's probably not a single brown soul there. But for you guys that are adopted, your parents love you just the same as the other siblings. And I know that Mom and Dad treated me is the same with the other kids. And I guess that one of the things I do want to mention though about Mom, and I think the reason why she was so impactful on so many people, is she just exuded love. And if you read her book, it's a PG probably, but you'll read all the different things that she has accomplished with Jesus at the heart of it. Whether it was missionary to Africa, whether it be India, where they built Pearl's house, whether it's Acres of Diamonds, all the way through with her book. She got a master's degree. I mean, she was a very accomplished woman. She had that presence, and that presence, I'm not talking about, we took Mom and Dad to Korea. In fact, we have a slide there. And she went and was going to speak to this high school group. And so when she got on stage, she's towering over this interpreter, and the whole auditorium was just laughing. But I'm not talking about that kind of presence. But she has a presence of the love of Jesus, and that people, just would come to her. And we used to ask her, why is this? But yet, it's that love of Jesus. And that's what I would like to just tell you, that, we want to be like Pearl. Amen? Yes.
Mom never had any favorites, but then she had favorites. Some just got spoiled more than others. And the most spoiled is going to talk next.
A while back, my son Hessel asked me, of all the qualities of your mom, what one did you most appreciate? And I thought about that for a long time, and then I said, she had a way of just letting me be. And what I meant by that was, she never got caught up into the trap that so many of us young mothers do in trying to make everything right happen for our kids. Let me give you an example. Mom loved adventure, she loved family, and when we moved to Kotzebue, Alaska, there was lots of adventure, there was lots of family, and there was lots of beautiful, beautiful nature. So she was super excited to come and visit us there when we invited her. About 5 miles north of our home, there was the old Air Force radar station. And if you took this icy, winding road along this sheer cliff up the hill, you could get there. So I was determined I was going to show her everything, and I was determined to bring her up there and show her this old abandoned Air Force radar station and Kotzebue's National Forest, which hosted one tree. We made it all the way up there, looking out over the ocean, vistas almost to Russia, and just enjoyed it together. And then we were headed back down the hill. And as we were driving down, I was driving down the hill in our truck, the truck caught some ice, and it started sliding. And it started sliding toward the edge of the cliff. And I was panicked. And I looked over at her, suddenly feeling like I was 5 and she was my mom. And knowing that she had grown up on a farm and driven under all kinds of conditions. And I just needed some assurance, some help, some direction. And she was sitting there with a smile on her face. And she was relaxed. Her foot was not slammed into the floorboard trying to stop us, nor was she grabbing onto that door handle, ready to eject herself when I pended us over the cliff. And she did not say one word of advice. There were a number of times when I was growing up that I came to Mom and I shared my deepest worries and my fears, my concern over a huge, life-changing decision that I had to make. And she would simply not even entertain the weight of it. Curiously, that did not make me feel unloved, unheard, or discounted. And I think it was because her love was genuine and palatable. And so it instilled a kind of confidence in me. Mom had a calm, unwavering trust that I knew was not in me. I don't ever remember hearing her say the words, "I'm sure you'll do all right. You've got this, it's okay. You can do it." But she modeled her belief that God's love is far greater than my ineptness. The Apostle John said, if we live in fear, it shows we have not fully experienced God's perfect love. Mom continuously embraced the love of God. She shared it with others, she lived it, and it gave her strength. Fear was a stranger.
One of the things that I tried to emulate from my mother, and I worked very hard at, because it is not an easy skill for me. I'm more like my dad when it comes to that. When you go to her and ask for advice, she rarely just told you what the answer was. And us were far more like my dad. Here's the answer. Go take care of it. Now we solved that problem. And but she would not do that. She would begin to ask questions, and she would ask questions, and she would, and you would begin to. And I can remember one time that I had gone for some advice. I was really struggling with this, and I thought, man, I'm going to talk to Mom about this. So I'm talking to her, and she just keeps asking questions, and finally, I'm thinking to myself, she's not helping me at all. I'm having to come up with all the answers. And about 2 hours later, I said, I'd actually come up with all the answers. And I said, so this is what I'm thinking. And she said, I think you're right. I think you're thinking well on that. And I said, I got up and I thought to myself, well, thanks for nothing. I had to think about it myself. And I got all the way to the door before I realized, and I stopped. I turned around and I said, you knew what you were doing. And she just looked at me and said, what do you mean? I said, you knew what you were doing. You knew the answer that I just said when I first asked you the question, didn't you? And she tried to avoid us. Now, don't avoid, Mom. Did you or did you not? She said, yes, I did. And I said, why didn't you just tell me? Isn't it better now that you figured it out for yourself? What a great way. What a great way to be able to share advice. And what a great way to think about being willing to spend the time with someone for them to arrive at the conclusion instead of you just telling them. So someone who's done that well in my life for me is my brother Cal. And he's going to share that right now. However much you got.
Well, this is embarrassing. Every time I go to my mom and ask her for advice, she'll give it to me. It's like I knew I was her favorite. I wasn't the most spoiled. Just proves it, now everybody knows. It's the most purple shirt I have.
Yeah.
As amazingly, a tie with purple in it. It's for Mom. I want to just share about the legacy. The legacy of my mom. You know the key points. They've already been given to you. Absolute faith. Unconditional love. 90 years of living this legacy as an incredible example. And I'm going to tell you that, in my opinion, she borrowed it and built on it. Because her dad lived with those exact same principles. And he lived those and demonstrated them, and she borrowed the seed and caused it to grow in an incredible way. When I had an opportunity about 12 years ago to have a major change in my life, it was a hard time, it was a scary time. And I remember that my wife and I made many trips to Spokane to spend some time with our most important trusted advisors, my dad and my mom. And whenever we had a question, whenever we had a choice or a decision that we needed to make, we welcomed the opportunity to meet with our trusted advisors. And when we would meet and we would talk about what we were dealing with, my mom would say to me, "What's God said?" We would pray about it and we would listen. And I learned about that. I don't have this on my notes, but I want to share it with you. I never, ever saw Mom argue with God. She never argued with him. She talked with him, listened to him. She modeled that to me. I remember about 2 months after we started Master's Mind Ministry, an independent ministry, following the example of healing prayer that I learned from my mom. I said to her and Dad, "We need a prayer shield." What's a prayer shield? I said, a prayer shield is 12 people that we know are praying for us and our ministry every single day. And my mom looked at me and she said, "You need to find 10 more. Dad and I are in." And I knew that she took this seriously. And I want to read something to you that she wrote a few months later. "Dear Cal and Jules, so glad to hear from your prayer shield." I was sending out a regular update at the time. "So glad to hear from your prayer shield that God indeed is shielding you from Satan's shenanigans and blessing your efforts to propagate his word and his healing." Doesn't it just thrill you? God says, "You two are my servants. I have chosen you and have not rejected you. So do not fear. I am with you. I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Isaiah 44, verse 10, slightly personalized. We love you, Mom and Dad. And then there was still just a little bit of room on the bottom of the paper. "Do you have any mountains to move? We have faith to move them." This is the legacy that she adopted from her dad, and this is the legacy that she invested in me. The first physical healing I ever saw was because my mom took me and a couple of other kids, I was in middle school at the time, to a service where there would be healing. The first time I ever saw firsthand somebody receive physical healing because of prayer was when my mom was praying for someone who was physically healed. And so when we began a ministry of healing, it was so important to me that Dad and Mom be part of our direction and our guidance. I have a couple of other examples here, but I don't have time to share them. So I'm going to just tell you that Mom didn't just have unconditional love. She was unconditional love. A person could not be in her presence and not experience unconditional love. And so I got a little note from Terry who said, so sorry to hear about the passing of your mother. And then she went on to tell me about how at a retreat she was just walking with my mother. And my mother was talking with her, probably asking her really good questions. And Terry said, "I could feel your mom praying for my spirit as we were walking." Lori said to me one day, I saw her at a church function, the church that she goes to, and she said, "I just love your mom." I said, "Me too." She said, "I was talking with her, she gave me some really strong advice. She pressed me to reach out to my grandma." There was some strain there. To do something tangible for my grandma. She said, "I did, and every time I make those cookies, I think of your mom. I've adopted her as my grandma." I looked at Lori and I said, "Oh, well then that makes you my daughter." And she thought about it for a moment, recognized the generational thing, and said, "Sweet." The reason I share these stories and this example, this is the legacy, and I want to challenge you. Children, my siblings, I implore you to live this legacy and multiply it. Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, I urge you to accept the root of this legacy in your life and build it. Let it multiply. Spiritual children, spiritual siblings, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, possibly great-great-grandchildren. I invite you to do the same. This is the honor, not for my mother. She's already honored. She's being honored right now, and she's singing in such a beautiful tone. What a gift. But to honor the God that she has always honored. This is our opportunity.
Fearless faith. When I was in grade school, I was scared. I had something I wanted to do. I'd come to Mom and say, Mom, I'm afraid. I really want to try this, but I'm scared. She said, what are you scared of? Well, if it doesn't work, I could get laughed at. Okay. Can you live with that? Would that hurt you? Would you be okay with it? Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? And then the admonition of, why don't you just try it then? Why don't you try it? Why don't you just step out and be willing to be fearless in doing what God's calling you to do? And I think, each one of us, as children, grandchildren, and friends, and like Cal said, spiritual children and so forth, you try to grab something of that and say, how can I own that? How can I have a piece of that myself? I think that fearless part, well, our next speaker probably does the best job of that of any of us. So, Billy, my little sister, is pretty fearless. Except for her big brother.
Hi, Nance. What asked me to talk about fearless faith in the face of death. Really tough, intimate for me because I'm not exactly sure how to talk about that. It's dying is such a intimate thing. I was taking care of Mom and Dad, and as it would be, just happened to, instead of going up at the time that I was planning to go up, I went up early. I was agitated because she suffered. When they first moved to Spokane, they had not ever felt heat like we have here in Spokane. And one day, my mom and dad were sitting on the back of their patio, and it was like triple digits. And I went to have hot coffee with them on a hot day, and Mom was sweating. I mean, you could see sweat droplets coming off her little ringlets right there. And I'm like, what the hell, Mom? We've got air conditioning. Why are you sitting out here sweating? Why? And she said, when Dad and I lived in Africa, I learned that you could just relax and sweat. And I was like, oh. And you know what? She suffered physically so much throughout her life and somehow dialed in the ability to just relax and suffer. Relax and experience real physical pain. And the way that God chose to take my mom was kind of by the inch. It was really annoying. And it was very frustrating for me, especially on those days where I knew that she had a lot of pain. And one day, in the middle of that, and she was in a hospice bed, and we did the whole hospice thing, and it was dragging on forever. And she had a lot of physical pain. I asked her, how is it that you have peace through this while you're hurting? And she looked me square in the eyes, and she said, Billy, whispered it. Her voice was very soft. She whispered it, and she said, Billy, when I was really little, I learned that Jesus loves me. And he really, really loves me. And that makes me happy. Somehow the truth of that allowed her to let her body do what her body needed to do in the dying process. That woman was filled with peace. I mean, unbridled. She didn't ask all the questions that I wanted to ask, like, what the hell is this taking so long?
Why does she have to hurt so bad? How much longer, Lord? How much longer? Not once, not one time was that her attitude or her persona. She just simply accepted what God had decided for her. I'm telling you, that was really instructional to me. It was hard to watch. It was hard to bear with her. But I want to just tell you about the night that she actually went home to be with the Lord. I'd gone up early. I wanted to make sure that she had enough medicine so that she would be rested. She was not responsive to the outside world. And Beppa was probably 75 pounds. I mean, I literally could pick her up. And I was a little irreverent, I do admit that. I would tease her about that. Like I'd be moving her from the wheelchair into her bed, and I would say, oh, this gets to be the fun part, and I'd put my arms around her waist, and I said, I get to throw your skinny ass into that bed. She looked right at me, she'd go, cheap fun. I said, Mom, I'm Dutch, it's free. It's totally free. Night the Lord took her home, and I didn't know what the plan was going to be that. I had gone up and I gave her a little bit of medicine, and then I was just talking to her, and I was going to say, I'm rubbing some lotion on your legs because Ashley doesn't look good on anybody, no matter what stage of life you're in. And I was rubbing lotion on her legs, and the room was, other than her breathing, it was quiet, just totally quiet. And I looked over and I could feel that she had left. I mean, there was no frickin' death rattle, crazy, I see Jesus, none of the things that I thought might happen. Literally, it was silent. And I said, you just left me. You just left me. And it was truly that peaceful that she finally got her invitation to go home. I don't know how somebody has fearless faith, because death is not one of those tests that you can cheat on, right? You can't cheat on it. You either got it when you're facing it, or you don't have it when you're facing it. What an absolute, amazing privilege to have taken her hand and walked her all the way home. And I thank God for that opportunity. So Mom died just like she lived, relaxed and full of faith.
Amen.
Just a couple of days before Mom went home, we were visiting her, and it was quite apparent that she could barely speak, and we were having a little food, or trying to, and Karen, my wife, had gotten very familiar with asking her, Mom, what's God been telling you lately? And it was kind of an ongoing joke between the two of them, which actually most of you guys can probably remember. It goes back to before I was in high school, because she used to always ask me that. I'd get annoyed at it and try to beat her to it, what's God been telling you? So she couldn't ask me that first. So Karen says, what's God been showing you? And she said, wait. And Karen said, what do you mean wait? What do you mean wait, Mom? And she said, He is with me in the waiting. And we moved her over to her bed shortly after that. And I was talking with her, and just eye to eye, about this far from her face, and all of a sudden she was looking in my eyes, and all of a sudden she looked past me, and just so intently out the window, and it was so obvious that I turned to look to see which grandkids were out there, what was going on, and there was nothing there. And I turned back to her, and he said, I love you, Mom. And her eyes went back to mine for just a second. She smiled, and all of a sudden her eyes shifted again, and she was looking past my shoulder just as intently, so much so that I just couldn't help it. I turned to look again. Nothing was there. And all of a sudden I remembered, He is with me in the waiting. I think she saw what you saw, Cole. she saw what we couldn't see. And she knew she could step into that, and she was just waiting for him to say, okay, that was time. And like Billy said, she would just quietly go. It is important that you do not leave here unchanged by the Holy Spirit. And because of the example of what He has done in her life, that it might impact yours. We're going to go from here downstairs, and we'll have a chance to break some bread. We're going to get a quick update from Acres of Diamonds, because that was such a pet project for moms that the Lord let her do. And then we'll just share time with each other and love on each other and stay as long as you want for that. But let's pray first. Lord, help us to see that faith is an action, and that requires fearlessness, which in turn produces more faith. And like a muscle, it can grow. So I pray for each of us here today, as we hear these things, we are not overwhelmed by them or feel like it's something impossible for us, but that we can, one step at a time, begin to step into it and say, Lord, grow my faith. Allow me to have a faith that does not fear, so I can be about what you want me to be about. So I can grow in faith and fearlessness, grow in confidence and adoration of who you are, Lord, that it might make a difference for me, so that when my time comes to see you face to face, I can know, just like Pearl, like Mom, like Becca, knew she would hear those words, well done. Well done, good and faithful servant. Let us be, Lord, those kinds of children of yours. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Let me give you His blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face towards you to give you His peace and His strength, so that you can go from here with a life of increased faith and fearlessly live for Him. In Jesus' name, everyone says, Amen. Amen. Head downstairs, we'll see you there.